Am I audible now? Am I audible? Good evening, guys. Good evening, Simran, Karthik. Hello. Am I audible now? Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So let's wait for another 2 to 3 minutes. Then we'll start our session. Well, you guys have practiced yesterday's session. What we have learned about use state and conditional rendering and all those stuff. Have you guys learned about those things? Have you guys practiced it? Just let me know if my screen is visible. You guys practice it? Okay. So did you guys found any difficulty in that? Was it all clear? And just let me know if my screen is visible. Okay. My screen is visible, right? Cool, 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 cool. Okay. So just before moving forward, I'll just give you a recap of what we did yesterday. Okay. So yesterday we learned about conditional rendering. This we do use conditional rendering using this ternary operator question mark and this colon symbol. If the condition is true, then show these things. If false, then this will be shown. Am I right? And apart from it, we also learned about states. What are states? States are the kind of variables only which React understand so that it can re-render itself to show that value on the screen. Export default. See, there are two kinds of exports. One is default exports and one is named exports. So if you export anything as a default, you can access it as with any name, whatever name you want. For example, this for example, let's say header.js, header component. So I've exported it default. So now if I go here and if I change this name from header to heades and heades, okay, it will still work. It will still work. So this is called default export. And if I go for a named export, then I have to wrap it around. Then I have to give the same name. Then I have to give the same name what here it is being exported. I can't use it like headers. I have to use it as header only. There's two kinds of export. Okay. So what we did yesterday is the use state. Are we clear with the use states? What are states and what all things we can incorporate in state? We can incorporate anything, string, number, object, arrays, whatever you want. Okay. And with this states and conditional rendering, we also learned about how we can pass these functions or these use state to another component in the form of props. You can see here we have used this username and this set username function in this header component by using props. Okay. So let's again go back to our application. Let's see if it is working. Yes, it is working perfectly fine. Okay. Is the code visible? Is it clear? And is the screen also clear, visible? Is it clear? Okay, cool. So today we will be learning of how to use side effects. What do you mean by side effects? Side effects are the functionalities which browser provide mainly us. For example, fetching some data. Okay. For example, it will be fetching some data, or it could be updating the DOM directly, or some timers or anything. Those are called side effects. Okay. Am I clear? So today we'll be learning about those. And to use those side effects or to hook to those side effects, we have a hook, React hook, which we call use effect. What we call it? Use effect. Am I clear? So I'll just give you an example. Let's say I want, for example, let's say I want to run a timer of saying count of how many times I have rendered my page. Okay. So let's go here. And if I make this use effect. Okay, so use effect takes two arguments. One is a callback function, and one is an optional thing that is called dependency array. Okay, so first I'll provide the callback function. Again, if you don't know callback function, then this is a JavaScript functionality or JavaScript concept. Go and learn about callback functions. Okay, and the second parameter is a dependency. For dependency array, we call dependency array, but right now we'll just leave it as it is. It is optional thing. So first, just make a timer. Make a thing that we say, okay, how many times we have, not a timer. Let's say let's count how many times our component get rendered. Okay. So for that, I'll say the timer only. Set timeout. I'll give something like let's say let's make a use state called count. Okay. We have count. Again, use state, and I'll set it as 0. Okay. With this, you will also learn about what is the importance of that secondary option, like the optional parameter that we use to pass and use it. For set timeout, let's say let's go for count. And I will say whatever there is in the count, I want to update it by +1. Okay. For set timeout, I will give a timer of 1 second. Correct? Is the syntax correct? Is my syntax correct? Yes, correct. And we'll also have something, let's say, we'll go and give h1 saying what should it be? Mhm. Okay. Let's say how many times the count is being rendered. Uh, count rendered this many times, and we have our count. Okay, just refresh. Now, can you guys see like it is going on and on? Every 1 second, the count is being updated, and it is on and on and on and on. Right? Can someone tell why this is happening? Why this is happening? I wanted that this count should only update once and it's from zero, it should go to one only and then stop. Okay. But it is going on and on and on. Okay. It's not visible. Is it visible now? So for 35 seconds, it has rendered the count 39, 30, 40 times, like 40 seconds and 40 times it is shown. But what I want is that for the very first time when my component gets load, after 1 second, it should update to one and then stop. Okay. So for that only, use effect runs. If you do not provide any dependency here, if you do not provide any dependency here to use effect, it will run on every re-render. And when the re-render happens, when the state changes. Whenever our state gets changed, our the component also gets changed. Our component also gets re-rendered. So on every re-render, the use effect runs. So understanding. So for every re-render, our use effect runs. Now, if we want that our use effect only run once, then we can pass an empty dependency array. Okay. And if I go and reload, and that's it. It stopped. For the first time, it rendered. For the first time, it ran from 0 to 1, and after that, it stopped. Okay. Now, in this dependency array, we can pass the states on which the use effect will be dependent. Okay. On the dependency array, we can pass the states in which this use effect will be dependent. To show this, let's make one more thing. Let's say not the set count. I will be saying, what should I do? What should we do? Okay, let's make another function. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So to demonstrate you the dependency array of this use effect, let's make a function. Let's remove this first. Remove whatever the use effect. We have this count. Now I will make another use state. Sorry. Const, and I will say added some, and we'll say set added some use state, and again it will be 0. So in use state, I will say set added some will be, I will take whatever there is in the use state, like set added some can return you this count or whatever there is in this count state. And I will say that, and I will say that count plus my added sum. Okay. Count plus my added sum. Or what I want, I will say, okay, increment to it 1. Increment it 1. And what I will do, how can you guys tell me, like, what should I do? I want to know from you guys, like, what shall we do? Mhm. And here I will show the count. I will show added sum, added sum, something like this. Somewhere it is showing error. What error is there? Added is not defined. There is, okay, sorry, added sum. Okay. And yesterday we also learned about events. So that is for user events. So we'll have a button. I will say add one, or I will say plus one. And this button click, I will be having one click. I will be saying, okay, for every click, set the count, set the count to c plus one. So every time this count updates or this count change, this function will get run. That is set added sum. Okay, and this added sum will get incremented by one. So initially, okay. So what happens for the first time it runs? For the first time it runs and it says one. And whenever I click on this plus one, it will say plus one, 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 plus one. Okay. So you think this whenever my count is changing, the state of the value of this count is changing, then only my use effect is running. Then only my use effect is running. Getting my point? So by this is the use case of use effect. We tend to use effect like this. We provide our functionality in the callback function, what we need to do, and we provide a dependency array with the dependencies which are affecting this use effect. Okay, and the dependencies which are affecting this use effect. Now let's move on and fetch some movies from the internet. Okay, so I'll just remove this. I don't want this thing to be here. Don't want this also. Let's remove this thing. Before you going to use effect, I just wanted to show how we can fetch something from internet. Okay, using fetch function, using fetch API. Say that. So let's make a function like saying fetch movies. Okay, and obviously it will be a async function. Here, what we'll say, we'll get the response. We'll use fetch function, and here we will pass our URL. So what the URL will be? I have my URL. Let me just get it from notes. Okay. So I'm using www.omdb API. Now, how you guys can access it? I'll just go through it once. Go to OMDB API, not this one. Go to this omdbapi.com. Go to API keys and generate your free API. Okay. I would suggest not to use my API key because it have only 1,000 daily limits. Give your information, get your email verified, and get your API key. Okay. Once you get your API key, your API key will look like something till this point. It will look something like this till this point. It will say https omdb.com/API key and this thing. Okay. We'll get something like this. So go to this site after the session, go to this site, enter your credentials or enter your information, get your email verified, get your API key from there. Okay. So now to use this API key, since this API doesn't provide you a generic movies at once, so you need to search. Like we what approach we are going to use is like we're going to search for the. If you can see here, we have this parameter by search. Okay, we have this parameter by search, or we have this parameter by ID or title. Okay, so we will be using by search here. By search here. First, I will just show you an example of giving some title. For example, I've given Kalki here as we are using the movie poster title Kalki. So I'm going to show you how to fetch the movies from this API. Okay. So if I go and show you this in my browser, if I run this API on my browser, I will be bombarded with some movies out here. Okay. Now this result we want this it in our React application, right? It is giving us some results going saying search, total results, and response to. Okay. Now we want this to be in our React application. So for this, I have this fetch. I will say await, but this is a promise and returning a promise again. So we will be having data again await, and we say I want response.json. I want whatever response was there in the JSON format. Now, if I go and say I want to see my data, what data is. So I want to call this function now but on a button click. I will go and I will say that I want this to be on a button click. Let's again go for a button. We'll say fetch data, fetch movies, and see, I'll say on click, go for fetch movies. So now, see, you can also use provide your function like this also. Whenever your function is not having parameters, you know that the function will not have any parameters or anything. You can directly pass it like this, but don't do this like this. Otherwise, it will be immediately invoked. It will not be invoked on your click. It will be immediately invoked. So whenever you have some parameters in your function, go for this. Go and wrap it around in another arrow function, and then you can go for this fetch movies. Okay. Otherwise, you can directly say fetch movies. Now, if we see in our React application, I'll just refresh it and I will see my console. And if I go and click this button, something happened, something came. In the data, I have this same response, what I got from here. I have search and I have an array of objects having the movie title and the poster with total results 12 and response. Similar kind of thing I also got here saying response true, search of 10, total results 12. Well, I guess here also it is 10 only, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. So we have fetched our data from the internet using use fetch. Okay. Now use fetch have a long use fetch take one permanent like major parameter that is URL that is necessary. So if you go and here, if you see, first one is URL, and next we can provide some properties to it. We can provide some properties to it. That is, for example, if you are in future, if you are creating any form application in which you have to post something, not get. Okay. So we have methods for that. For example, for this, we have get method. So if you are sending something to server and not receiving, like you are sending something from client side, like from your web application to the backend server, then you have to go for post. You are posting something from the web application to server. Otherwise, if you are getting it, you are fetching something from the server, then you say get. This also do the same thing only, no change. I can go for fetch movies and I have my data. Correct? And I have my data. Now I have my data. Okay. Now I will also wrap this thing in my this component only. But I will say I want this thing to be wrapped inside this. I want my button to be here. I don't want this if I'm not if the name is not in there. Okay. So if we have a name, then only we can enter here and then only invalid DOM property where it is. But I've given somewhere class, which should not be there. But where? Okay. Movie card. Control F. Replace it with plus. I guess that is correct now. Yep. So now if we go to our console, reload, I'll go for Alex, enter. And now I can see my fetch movies button here and my data is there. Okay. And my data is here. Now what I want, now what I want, or should we move this button to button and this fetch movies to movies component? So that will make much sense because we need to map those movies to our movie card component, right? So rather than doing this, let's move this thing to our movies component. Let's close the CSS files. Get this, I don't need this, don't need this. I'll go here. I'll say I want this thing to be here. And similarly, I want this function also not to be here. I want this thing, this is effect to be here. And then I'm not using it. Use effect is not being used. Very good. Again, wrap it around in a React fragment because you only can return one parent. Is this clear? What is fetch? Not understood, please explain again. Okay, fetch is a function. Okay, it is the side effect that is provided by the browser. Fetch is a function that is used to get the data from any URL. Okay, from any API. API are known as application programmable interface. Okay, those helps you to get the data from server to client. So fetch function helps you to get the data from this URL or this API and present it to you on your web application. Okay. So this fetch function helps you to extract the data from this API and present it to your this web application or this React application you are using. Okay, so I guess this will work now. If I go refresh, Alex can enter here. If I click this, I got my data. Okay, now let's map it. Let's map it. Let's say let's first store it. Like, okay, now we got our data, but we have not stored it in any state or something, right? It is only accessible within this function only. We don't want that. So once we get our data, we want it to be stored in a state. So let's make the state. I will say const movies, and I will say set movies, and we will again use set state, use state. And now we know that we need to store this array, right? So why don't we go and say, okay, empty array. Okay, we'll say empty array. Just a minute. And now we can say that, okay, uh, instead of this console log, we'll after this we can say set movies. Now, if you see what is being provided, data, and within that data we have this search. So this data is an object. You can see this data is an object, and in the object we have a property called search, and in that search we have this array of objects. So we'll say set this to data dot search. Okay, and now if we go here and if I go and console log clg, you know, console.log.movies, movies, Alex. So initially movies is 0, but once I click on this button fetch, I can see I have my data and I have my movies, that is array 10, having array of this 10 movies. Okay. So in my movies state, I have this array of 10 movies in it. Okay. Now we will just simply use our map function on the array. For this, I'm again saying, what is the use of that data, sir? Okay, that data is the movies data that we are going to map in our application so that whatever the input you provide in a movie search that we will do in just a while, whatever we provide here. Okay, for example, I provided Kalki right here. So all the movies that are named Kalki will be fetched from that API and will be provided to us. So that you can there here you can see title Kalki, movie year this, and we have the poster also regarding to it. Okay, so we have Kalki, the churning of Kalki, Kalki Avatar. 10 movies are there on the name of Kalki. So this data we have fetched from our API, and now we also need to map it to our movies card, right? And from the API we can see we have this title. So in that array of object, and each object having one title, one poster, or the photo you are saying of the photo of that movie right? And we have some IMDb tag ID. I don't think so that we need that. So we will be just moving with the photo and the title. So for photo and the title, the movies card, what we will do? Again, we will say for props, and we'll say we'll get those things. We'll get. I'll just destructure it from props. What I want is like movie name. I'll say movie title, and I will say movie poster. I will say movie poster. So these two things I will be needing from props. And here in the movie, instead of this complete huge URL, I'll just simply go and say I want movie poster here. And instead of this name, I'll go and say movie title here. Right? So we have updated our movie card component to present us with dynamic data. Now to map, we'll simply go with movies. I'll say map. It will return us individual movie or individual objects of that array. Right? And now for this, I will return. What I will return? I will return that movie card saying our movie name. What we have here, movie title. So our movie title will be movie dot title. I guess this is the thing which we have. Yes, we have title here. And similarly, we have our movie poster, I guess. So similarly, we will go get our movie poster and we say movie and it is poster here. Yes, poster. So poster. So what do you guys think? Will this work now? Will it be working? Let's refresh it once. Go for Alex. So right now, there are no movies. And if I go click on this, we get all the movies from the API. Forget about this background. Let's say, let's change it. Let's change the background only. Body app. Give this. I can read this. Will that work? Still not work. We'll see the fixes later. Okay, now work. Okay. Yes. So what we did here, initially, what we did, like we fetched our movies from this API and we stored those movies in a set movies in our movie state using this set movies function, right? And now what we did, we mapped or we say that loop through our movies state and render this movie card as many times as the movies are there. Render this movie card, just a second, as many times the movies are there. And you can also see there are some poster as not available for this movie, so this is showing ing as the alternative. Now if I go and if I change this Kalki, for example, to Kalki to hacker, what will happen? And if I go and again click this, you can see movies are changed to hacker. Now I don't want this. Now I don't want this every time to go and change the movie name in the API. So can you guys suggest something that what should I do? What should we do that so that something like we can have a input tag here or something in which we can enter something and then click on search to get the movies. Can we do something like that? Can we do something like that? Yes, exactly. Search bar. So for search bar, okay, let's first, okay. Very good, Manoj. Search bar. Very good, Utpal, for making dynamic. Yes, we will make it dynamic. And how we'll make it dynamic? We will say we will be having a search bar. How we are having? Let's say we will be having an input tag here. I'm not focusing on CSS right now. I guess you guys are much good in CSS. We'll say input tag here, type of text, and let's say first this. Oh, cool. So wrap this around the div. We have this. So just I will give a class. Search bar. Okay. Control C. We have movies for CSS. Search. Search. Control C. Search bar. I give this margin just to like, make it completely. Hmm. Okay. But this hamburg. Okay. We'll see this background later. Should I just remove this? Remove this. This. This is so now. Hmm. So entering Alex. 11 plus Alex. Now for this fetch movies, whatever name I will type here and then click on fetch movies, it should get me the movies on this title only. Am I right? It should get me the movies on this title only. So again, what we will be going to use? We did something like that yesterday also, or we have implemented something like that here also, like on typing something here and on clicking, we are getting these thing right here. Am I right? We are getting Alex out here and a logout button, right? So similar kind of thing we will do here also. So for that, we'll again make two things right here. We'll make two things. Or one thing can also be good. Can also be done. We'll make one state. We'll say search. We'll say search movie. And I will set it to set search movie. Use state. And initially it will be blank. Initially it will be blank. And here I'll use template literals. Again, you guys must be knowing what is template literals so that we can dynamically pass this. Control C, Control V. Search movie here. Okay, whatever will be stored in this search movie, we will be accessing that. And on clicking the fetch movies, we will fetching those things. Right? So for the search movie, we will be setting the value to search movie. And on change, since I'm my set search movie will be having this e dot target dot value. Correct? E dot target dot value. And let's go back. Let's go to Alex. And let's say I want for hacker. See, for the movies hacker present are there. Let's go for another movie. Let's say Avengers. Avengers is here. Now, Avengers are here. Was that cool? Did you guys understood how fetch functionality works? And all this we did without using use effect. We'll be using use effect in a while. But I want you guys to understand how this works first. Did you guys understood how fetch works? Did you guys understood? Come on. Those who guys understood, please give a thumbs up. So I hope so that you guys have understood how to fetch data from an API. Okay, and all we did this. Okay. Whenever you are mapping something, whenever you are mapping out, you should always give a key to it. Okay. So in here, I'll provide key and I will say, if you remember, then we have that movie dot inspect. So IMDb ID was there. I guess should be there. Was that IMDb ID? Yes, it was IMDb ID. So always, whenever you are mapping out your data to a component, always remember to give key so that React can uniquely identify each component. Okay. And a lot of people do what this map also provides you index. So they tend to pass this index here rather than being a unique ID. But it is not recommended. You should always pass unique ID to your component as a key. Okay. So now we learn how to fetch data from an API. We learn how to fetch data from an API. Now I don't want this button. What I want that as soon as I write something here, my movie should be present out here. And if I go and fetch it, it will throw most probably will throw an error here. It will throw an error. It says that because we didn't provide anything here. And if we go and inspect and console, again go for this Alex. And if I go for search, in the data, it said error too many results. Okay. And in response, it says false. It said false. So what we can do, we can again go for an if else condition like logic. But we can say that if data dot response, it was response only. Response is triple equals to true, then only set my movies. Otherwise, it will be set it as blank, like empty array, right? So now if I click as many times as I click, it is showing false. It is showing false, and no, nothing is here. Nothing is being here. And for that also, what I can say, what we can say here that okay, if you want this, and what we can say that okay for movies again conditional rendering. If data is there, then render this control plus X, then render this entire thing. Otherwise, otherwise say no results. Will that work? Will that work? What I said that if data, not data, movies dot length. If movies dot length, like if something is there in the movies array, then show me the movies here. Otherwise, show no results. So let's check will that work or not. I'll say Alex. It is showing no results. I'm going for this click, 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 click. It is still showing no results. And if I go for Avengers, search, Avengers is out there. Okay. Now what I want that I don't want this button. I want that as soon as I write something here, as soon as I write A, V, E, at that time only the movie should get rendered according to that. Right. So in that case, our use effect will come into place. Now, how will it come into place? How will it be? We have this function here. We'll keep it like that only. We'll use this. We will use this. And now we'll write our use effect. We'll write our use effect. We'll provide our callback. We'll say in callback, call my fetch movies. And it should be dependent on search movie because we are updating this search movie on every, like this search movie is being updating on every change of this input, right? So I would say on search movie, my use effect should run, right? My use effect should run. And in search movie, and in use effect, what we said that whatever there in the search movie, whatever there in the search movie, search for the results for this. So now, and if I go and remove this button, like I will just comment it out. I'll go and enter as Alex. As soon as I write A, V, can you see? I will write Evan. See, till A, V, E, there was nothing. And it reloaded also. Evan. So Alex, A, V, E, N, G, R, E. And as soon as I'm counting it down, I'm getting nothing. I'm getting nothing. And one more thing we can do, we can here only movies.length and we can say if not of search movie. If both the things are not there, or whatever there is, if there is no search movie and there is no movies.length, whatever will be there, I guess this should work. Okay. There's something wrong in this. Okay, okay, then we'll find this out. Till the time you guys can try it out. Why it is not working? Can you guys tell me why it is not working? What is happening on this on removing the state and changing the state? The state is being changed. It is also showing false. And what is happening? Something or different, something is happening right there. Can you guys tell me? Well, that will be a homework for you guys. Okay, I want you guys to go and research about it, why it is not working this way. It is working this way. If I go and type hacker, it will show me hacker. Okay, but it is not working the other way. It is saying it is still stuck on the profiles here. It is still stuck on this thing. Okay, string. So, Siri, can you explain like what do you mean by string? So I want you guys to research about it. Okay, go. I will be uploading this to the GitHub. You can access this code from GitHub, and I want you guys to try this. Okay, I want you guys to try this and see what is happening, why it is not updating for this. And also to use this movie, what I will do, I will do one thing. I will just go here. I will just go here and I will just make a file. I called it .env. I will store my this thing till this point. I'll store this thing in my API or what I say, let's say API key. This is the part of the API key. Okay, from here to here. Here you can see API key, right? So this is my API key. But I will say I don't. I will capture it in somewhere else in a env folder. Env folder that doesn't push or not pushed to the code base in production level. Those should be entirely yours. Data type is not Boolean, sir. It is string. Okay, it is string only. And what? See, if it is response dot true or all else, I said let's go and else. Else. I'll say I'll repeat this. Let's try this also. Let's try this. What happens? Let me use to Alex. Avengers. Oh, cool. Now it's up. So I kind of gave you an solution to it. Okay. Hmm. Good. Good, Tulsi. Good. And what I was saying that you can use env folders to store your secret item which you don't want to be available, get available to your production level application. Okay. For example, your API keys or something which are personal to you only. You can keep those things in your env folders. So in this .env, I will create my API key. I go and paste. For this to use this env, we need to install .env. Then React Basic, we go npmi and we'll say I want .env package. And now in my movies, What I will say const my API key is equals to process dot env dot I guess API key is it API key. So probably it should work here also. Will that work? Let's see. Hopefully it should work. Hmm. It is not working for it is saying undefined. The process.env is not working properly. Why so? Process.env. But we'll see it later. Not push this code. But I will recommend you guys to use your own API key. Okay. Import .env and call the .env config. Well, is that needed? I don't think so. There's something else. In the app.js you are saying, right? Well, let's do that also. Import, what you said, .env from .env, right? Okay. Well, let's see. So for me, it will never work like that. Okay. Okay. Let's see if it is working. Yeah, I said it doesn't work like that. Cannot find module path. Okay. No issues. We know how you guys try to find it. Otherwise, in the next session, we will be discussing to fix this env file issue. It's a small one. And we will be also learning in the next class context API. Okay, but during the context API is used to handle the states in a global manner. Right now, if I give an example, then we have this username state here in the app component, right? And we are passing this to both the passing the this set username function to both set use log like login component and header component. Now think about a condition if there are multiple components within it. For example, if I want this set username in, for example, in this movie card component, okay, so I have to pass it to this movies and then this from movies. Then from this movies, I have to pass it to the movie card component. So this thing is called prop drilling. Okay, so this thing is called prop drilling. And if we have a very long nested React structure having a lot of component and you have to pass some data from the very parent to the very child, then it is a hell lot of work. Okay. So to overcome such kind of problems, we are introduced with global state management thing. Okay. So before context API, we have Redux, Flux, or other packages to handle this state management, to handle the states in a very effective manner. But later on in the React, it is in context API has been introduced. Okay. and this made our thing easy. So till so Redux is also used, Flux is also used, but it is used for a larger application where there is a lot of state to be handled and where there's a lot of data. But for smaller applications, we can use Context API. Both the things do the same. Okay, and Context API is pretty easier than Redux to learn. Okay, and it also strengthens your concepts regarding global state management. So the next session we'll be learning about the global state management, that is context API, that is provided within the React only. And with this, I guess with this we have kind of finished our project also. Sorry for this. Sorry for the CSS. You guys are smart enough to add your CSS. I will just okay. Until now, what we have learned how to install React, we have learned about states, we have learned about conditional rendering, we have learned about components, how to make component, how to pass properties and data to a component, and the and all those things, right? With that, we have also learned about how to use this use effect, how to hook to side effects such as fetch or such as set timeout, and we have also learned how to fetch data from APIs and present it on your web application, along with how to map those data also. Okay, so I guess dot ignore we having dot env, right? Env dot local, env development, yes, with simple dot env also. Cool. So for you guys, I will add this thing to GitHub also. Access.json component login. What did you login? Let's check. Okay, press this thing. Okay, cool. So git add is the application working. Git commit minus m day 4 React Bootcamp. Day 4 React Bootcamp. Yep, and I will post this. So for you guys, this will be available at GitHub. React Bootcamp. Ish. So you guys can access the code from this link. I provided it this in the chat. Okay. And with this, our movies application is kind of over. In the next session, we'll be learning about context APIs, global state management, and a major issue that came into React due to which this global state management packages and context API is introduced is called prop drilling. We will be learning a little bit more about prop drilling, what is prop drilling, and how we tackle it using context API. Okay, context API is a feature that React provides from itself only. Before context API, we are using Redux or Flux or DoStand. Okay. So the next session, we'll be learning context API and we'll be finishing our this project. And I will be signing off from you guys. Till then, see you in the next session. I'll take a leave. Bye bye.